Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander viewers are advised that the following program contains images, voices and names of deceased people.
I acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands and waters throughout Australia. The Wathaurong people on the Bellarine, where sovereignty has never ceded. It always was and always will be Aboriginal land. We recognise the past atrocities against Aboriginal peoples of this land, and that Australia was founded on the genocide and dispossession of First Nations people. We pay our respect to elders past and present, and acknowledge their continuing relationship to this land and the ongoing living cultures of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples across Australia. Hi, it's Peter and welcome to SquattAus. Rightio, hello there, welcome back to SquattAus. Well, what a beautiful day it is today to be out squatting on the Bellarine Peninsula. And today I'm squatting on the original squatting site of squatter William Irons. William Irons was one of the first squatters to take this land from the Wathaurong people and used it for sheep farming. So the actual original land I can't camp on tonight because it's private property. Again, 200 years ago that didn't matter, they came and took it. Can't do that now because of the laws of the land, because of the sovereignty of the Crown. So today I'm staying at the closest spot to the original farm as I can on Crown land. I'm walking through the suburb known as Curlewis, right near the Curlewis winery. But before George Campbell Curlewis moved here, this property was established by Scottish settler William Irons. Back in the day it was just farmland, but today is an exclusive housing estate. Beautiful paddocks, rural paddocks, high-end housing. Not the sort of place that you're going to find someone squatting. So I've tried to look nice and neat, and hopefully no one will suspect what I'm doing. It's a bit odd walking with a camera about, isn't it? at that. Absolutely beautiful. Look at this. Oh. They're all paying 5-star prices up there. And we get a 5 billion star opportunity tonight. So good. Here we go. Alright. Grab a seat. Rightio. Now there's a thing in the world called the black swan effect. You know, the black swan is something so unusual to people from the Northern Hemisphere. But it's quite common here. When we think about what life would have been like back here in the 1830s, there were so many things that were foreign to the British people that came over. And it must have been so difficult. I mean, the birds were different, the animals were different, the seasons were different, everything was different. And it was really tough, really tough. And one thing we're going to look at today with William Irons is realistically how tough it was. So while we wait for the billy to boil, let's find out about William Irons. William Irons was born in Glasgow, Scotland in 1808. We don't know much about William's past, but we do know he was a labourer, and when he was 19 in 1827, William joined the British Army and became a private in the 79th Queen's Own Cameron Highlander Footline Infantry. These were the frontline fighters for the army, if not the bravest sent first into battle. The line infantry consisted of 2 or 4 ranks of foot soldiers drawn up side by side in rigid alignment, and thereby maximising the effect of their musket firepower. The 79th Foot Soldiers had played a pivotal role in the Napoleonic Wars and had been used to stop civil unrest all over the world. But when William joined in the late 1820s, the brigade were at peacetime and didn't face much action at all. In fact, it appears William got bored at times and was court-martialed in 1831 for neglecting his duty. William spent 15 years' service in the UK peacekeeping in Northern Ireland and Scotland before finally heading overseas on tour in 1841 to Gibraltar, where he was promoted to sergeant. His conduct was recorded as very good. But just before he left for Gibraltar in 1840, William got punched in the head and sustained long-term severe injuries, giving him constant and severe headaches. But whilst he was still in the service, he spent some time in Edinburgh, and it was around this time George Mercer was recruiting people like William to help settle the new colony of Port Phillip in Australia. In 1842, while William was still in active service in Gibraltar, George Mercer arranged for William to get a depasturing licence in the Portland Bay region near Geelong. Whilst William was still sick, he returned from Gibraltar, and even though he wasn't officially discharged, it was arranged that he would leave the UK on October 5th, 1842, from London to Launceston on the ship the Bolivar. This was all part of the assisted emigration scheme of getting ex-British militia, gentlemen, to bring civilization and a more Christian approach to the colony.
Fire at will!
Ironically helping sort out civil disputes in the Port Phillip region. Now he could finally see some real warfare, as the yeoman infantry was created in the region, and he and his extensive experience would be called upon to quell the civil unrest of the First Nations people. By the time he was officially discharged on the 27th of June 1843, he'd already started his new life in Australia and married his newfound love, Mary. But much like the life he'd left behind in the British Army, his newfound life in Australia didn't end up having much action either. In fact, it was full of despair and hardship. Cappuccino tonight. Here we go. Oh, nice and hot. There we go. Ah, so good. Tell you what, it is a divine grind. Doesn't get any better than this. Must say though, since I've got here, in the last few minutes, the wind has picked up and there is a bit of a warning for some winds tonight and a bit of rain, and in the distance you can see a cloud front coming over. So whilst it's okay now, it could be a little bit hairy a bit later on. Nothing severe, just some wind and a bit of rain. So lucky I have the Hennesy Hammock for tonight. And I'll show you that shortly. But tonight I'm going to cook a bit of food and let's get cracking on that. Right, gas going. Let's get the pan going here on the beach. This is how you do it in Australia. Got the garlic infused oil again that we had the lamb cutlets with. Crack. In the meantime, we put a bit of Aerogard on, and we have a good weekend. Got our little rubbish bag. Make sure we don't leave any mess here. None at all. No mess here. While we wait for these to cook, let's find out more about William Irons. Like all other first settlers arriving in this new colony, they were looking for freedom, fortune and good health. However, on William Irons' arrival into Port Phillip, he was quickly confronted and surprised with a brutal and harsh reality. A major crisis. A crisis which was later given the Black Swan effect. That is, throughout history these events have been covered up, forgotten, or inappropriately rationalised with the benefit of hindsight. Governor Latrobe had ordered the formation of the Yeoman Infantry to quell the uprising of the First Nations people, as Police Commissioner Foster Fynes and the local police force simply didn't have the resources needed to keep order. An uprising that only began because these British squatters took the land of the First Nations people, their hunting grounds and food supplies. William, as an assisted immigrant, arrived and, recruited by Yeoman Infantry leader Fairfax Fenwick, quickly took over the stretch of land near Point Henry. As a British soldier, he not only had civil order peacekeeping experience, but wealth, and now land and resources he could use to help quell the uprising, later known as the Port Phillip District Wars. But amid this mess, he found the love of his life, Mary Cannon, and married his fiancée, one of the first wedding ceremonies to happen in Geelong, in 1843 at the Geelong Presbyterian Church, the Church of Scotland, by the Reverend Andrew Love. Life was full of mixed emotions, war, love and hard work. Early on, William Irons invested heavily into crops and sheep to make his farm successful. But tragically, it was recorded in the Geelong Advertiser that two of his servants left a fire burning, went inside for dinner, and the whole estate caught alight. In the process, the whole area and this new property were destroyed. William and Mary lost everything. We then see that later on William couldn't recover from this loss. He couldn't afford to make repairs to his machinery and in the end declared bankrupt in 1849. A gentleman from Sydney called George Curlewis brought out William Irons and his estate, and where the suburb of Curlewis got its name. There isn't much mention of William Irons in regional records after this. Even his death on the 24th of February 1854 is not mentioned in the local Geelong Advertiser, presumably because his death was a suicide. His wife Mary Irons lived on and moved out of the area, but William was laid to rest in the Geelong East Cemetery. But even his grave today is unmarked, the only record being an area where his body was laid. It's such a tragic and sad story, lost in history, until now. History has put the black swan effect on these events and inappropriately rationalised and glamorised these early squatters' actions. We could easily feel sorry for the loss, and we should, but it's nothing to the loss our First Nations people experienced. Their land, their culture, their family, livelihood and custodian practices completely taken away from them.
Fire is beautiful. It's like water. It trickles through the landscape, and the right fire protects the trees, and it brings food and encourages new life.
The early explorers like Captain Cook and the early settlers reported in their diaries that the traditional custodians were constantly burning the land. Some of the early artists even depicted this reality in their artwork.
The country was well managed, and there was a lot of grasslands and healthy landscapes, and that was important because animals depend on the grasses, and the grasses are there for seeds and food. When the settlers came to Australia, it changed immediately by taking fire out of the landscape completely. And so what was going on for thousands of years of people looking after the land, suddenly it just stopped. It is something that belongs in this landscape. But when people don't know the fire and they disconnect themselves from the landscape, then that's when we have trouble.
The bushfire crisis has exploded on a scale never experienced in this state.
Go! Go! Aboriginal knowledge is a valuable knowledge source that we need into our future. And we're only just seeing that now, people are understanding how much we need that knowledge.
Realistically, this William Irons tragedy and many others could have been avoided if our First Nations people, the traditional custodians of this land, the Wathaurong people, were fully embraced.
Guys, if you think this is pretty good, I think you should give it a like. What do you reckon? Pretty great spot. Lovely brew. Oh, look at that, the sun is out. Beautiful. Nice healthy sausage. This is the Bunnings dinner. Here you go.
Alright. You can't get much nicer than that, can it? Alright, well, the wind is really starting to pick up. So I really want to get a shelter ready just in case it rains in a little while. So we're going to pack up and go get the shelter ready. So our little spot for tonight is just in here. Okay, up a bit further. let's go. Okay, so there's a house up there, and we're pretty sheltered in here. There's the stuff. Alright, let's set it up. Just be quiet in case people come. I don't want to get busted like last time. So you can see I've attached the hammock from that tree and across through to that tree, and I'll be sitting in here. Really tight. Now all we need to do is tie these bits down. There you go. So after about 10 minutes, the hammock's up. This is the sheet to go over the top of it to protect it from the rain, and then this is the hammock underneath. There you go. So you slide in there, and then you slide in, and then you're in. So this is me for tonight. So this is the climate insulated mat to sleep on. Takes just a few minutes to set up. Takes only like 10 breaths to inflate. This is my travel pillow. Takes us okay, let me give you the tour. So you've got the hammock tied up here, and then we come under here, the Hennesy Hammock under here. Okay, so got the sleeping bag with the insulated mattress underneath to keep my back warm, and my pillow. It's going to be rocking it in here. This is awesome. So we'll just go out to the path and just see what we can see from the path. So now I'm just a nice little empty stroller. To check out the sunset. And look at that sunset. Now from the path, you can see the rope. If you have a very good look, you can see the rope there. It's holding it to the tree. But apart from that, you walk down here and you wouldn't see a thing. So pretty good, I think. We'll just try and check out this way. Nope. No sign of anyone being there, so it's pretty good. That's what we want. That's what a stealth camp is, isn't it? No one sees you. Alright, so let's have a look. Okay, let's try it out. Got my little battery charger up there for my phone. Got the little view up there. Got the rain protection up there. And it's pretty good. There we go. Now, I just have to be quiet now because I can hear people up at the house. So if they come down to the water for a walk or something and I'm here, I'll be busted. But I doubt they will. But I'm just going to be really quiet now. Okay, the sunset. We're all ready to go. Look at that sky. So, literally about to go to sleep. It's getting dark. And it's nearly 9 o'clock. Look at that. Look at that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sunset. What do they say? Red sky at night. Shepherd's delight. So tomorrow should be pretty good. But I do know there's weather in those clouds. It's coming over with a bit of rain. So we're all ready for the rain. But I think we probably will have a pretty quiet night. Well, it's nearly dark. It's actually surprisingly quite warm in here. And on this mat is the insulated mat. It keeps you really warm. I'm not even in the sleeping bag. I don't even know if I need to go in the sleeping bag, but probably will later. But at the moment, it's beautiful. So yeah, the insulated mat is just so good. You gotta get one. So it just keeps your back warm, and then when your back's warm, you just need my beanie, which is down there. Where's my beanie? Here it is. Got my beanie for later. Got my jumper for later. But we've got the sleeping bag, but I don't think I'll need it. But I'll keep it all up there for now. It's perfect. Perfect. And it's so quiet here. I'm gonna hit the hay because I gotta go up nice and early in the morning to go to work. So, good night, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed learning about New Mines, and I look forward to speaking to you in the morning. Good night. Well, good morning, everyone. It's 6 o'clock. My alarm's just gone off. I've had a great sleep. The car alarm went off at 4 o'clock and woke me up, but other than that, I slept all night. Anyway, I need to pack up and get out of here because my lift's coming early because I have work to go to. But thanks for joining with me. If you liked today's episode, please like it, subscribe it, share it with your friends, and I look forward to catching up with you next time. Take care. So like all good campers, there should be no evidence that I was here. This is good. No rubbish. And great. I'm good to go. And my ride will be here shortly. But yeah, brilliant. All good, all packed up. Anyway, see you next time. The sun is just starting to Right.